So it's possible to have a strong EB-1A case with just two criteria met, usually leading or critical role, or original contributions, and high salary. The reason why you can have a strong EB-1A profile with just two criteria is because of what EB-1A is fundamentally about. EB-1A is about showing that you have risen to the top of your field, not about checking off as many EB-1A criteria as possible. That is why you can have 8 criteria, for example, and still present a not so strong case. So when applying for EB-1A, when working towards EB-1A, your focus should be on presenting a compelling, strong narrative for how you have risen to the top of your field, and that also means defining which field you're in and then showing how you have risen to the top of that field. So a useful exercise that I tell people to do on occasion is to ask other top professionals in your field to review what you've done and to ask them honestly if they can draw the conclusion that you have risen to the top of your field. Sometimes all it takes is just to see the roles that you have taken on in your past companies and the work that you have done to make that conclusion, and that is why sometimes you can just have 2 criteria and have a strong EB-1A profile, and all it would take is probably just a bit of judging and just a bit of authorship, plain language level activities, not something that is highly prestigious, just activities that show that you've done a bit of judging, that you've done some authorship, to then be able to claim 4 criteria and potentially pass final merits, depending on whether you can present a compelling narrative for how you have risen to the top of your field. So when profile building for EB-1A, it is not about trying to get as many activities done as possible, to try to show as much evidence as possible. Quantity, if it does not contribute to your argument that you have risen to the top of your field, will not necessarily strengthen your profile. That being said, if you can show a large quantity of evidence that shows that you have risen to the top of your field, say lots of highly prestigious speaking opportunities, lots of highly prestigious journal articles, then of course you can strengthen your profile that way. It's just when I see people just trying to do as many activities as possible, doing any kind of activity that comes their way, what ends up happening is you just have a laundry list of activities that don't really contribute to the argument you're trying to make, and will probably just distract the officer from the main argument you're trying to make, which is how you have risen to the top of your field. You also want to make sure that there's enough context around all the evidence you're trying to present, and to make sure that the evidence you're trying to present clearly shows that you have risen to the top of your field. So you have to show why, for example, a journal article is considered prestigious, or why a speaking opportunity is considered prestigious in your field. Was there a selection criteria? Are you being paired alongside other top professionals in your field who are affecting the work of thousands of US companies, for example? You have to show that you are being placed alongside other top professionals in your field when you are trying to make the argument that this specific opportunity showcases your expertise as a top expert in your field. So that is why you can have a strong EB-1A profile with just 2 criteria. It's about making the argument that you have risen to the top of your field, not about checking off as many criteria as possible and about doing as many activities as possible. In fact, you can do fewer higher quality activities. That is probably going to lead to a much stronger case than having hundreds of activities that, as a whole and individually, do not contribute to the argument that you have risen to the top of your field.